Love is in the air, and Hogwarts Mystery and Mrs. Midnight Channel are not the exception. So today's talk will be about the best partner prospects that this wonderful game offers to us. Warning, this video contains spoilers that are necessary to explain my choices. Of course, I will try to not reveal information that's very important, but if there's a character in particular that you do not want to spoil the surprise with, I would strongly advise to skip that part of the video if they appear on the top. Now that everyone's been warned, let's start with the top. Honorable mention to Bill Weasley, because although you can pick him when somebody asks you who you like, that's all you can do with him! During one mission, he helps you gather the courage to tell your crush about your feelings. But when it comes the time to pick your partner from the room, you cannot pick him. And after he graduates, you can drink butterbeer in Hogsmeade. But no more romantic interactions between Bill and you. I imagine the reason behind this has to do with the canon of his love life. But in that case, I still don't understand. Why present him as an option if you're not going to be able to do anything after saying you like him? And with anything, I mean not even tell him? Number 6. Kiara Loboska and Talbot Winger. I grouped them both in the 6th place because although I feel a more friendly than romantic vibe with them, something I value a lot from our relationship is the great level of trust they both show towards us, even though this is not easy for them at all. Both of them, each for their own reasons, are people that normally do not trust others. And we can see this even more in some of our interactions, where we discover that Kiara fears to be discriminated if people learn of her lycanthropy condition, while Talbot believes that it's extremely risky for others to know that he's an animagician, including the Ministry of Magic. Nevertheless, as the friendship advances and they start trusting us more, they begin to reveal things about themselves that until now, they have told no one. And this is what for me distinguishes them from the rest of the characters. That even without a romantic interest or attraction, our friendship with them is very special, to the point that they open their heart and vulnerate themselves with us, despite how terrifying it is for them to do that. Number 5. Andre Ewu. From our first interaction with him, we can see that Andre connects with people through fashion, because although he knows a couple things about us, what he's most curious about is to see how we dress like when we're not wearing the uniform, to the point that he even asks us to go back to Hogwarts, get changed, and come back to Hogsmeade with our going out outfit. But Andre's charm does not only lie on his fashion sense or his talent and creativity for confection, but also on the wonderful friend he is to us, being supportive in multiple occasions, not only by designing us beautiful outfits, but also by listening to us when we have a conflict, which can go from not knowing who to ask out on a date, to be frightened to the bone for having to go to Knockdown Alley and talk to dark wizards. If I remember right, in that occasion he does not design our outfit. However, his knowledge in fashion is so deep that it's his idea for us to wear an outfit that conceals who we are. Of course, if you only look at the surface, our relationship with Andre could look like it's limited to him designing us outfits and talking about Quidditch and fashion. However, if you watch closer, you'll see that those outfits are actually his way to be with us, support us, and even take care of us. Not to mention that many times when we are choosing our favorite, he uses his time to talk to us about his feelings and proposes to be his date, which actually means a lot coming from a person that regularly prefers to focus just on his passions. Number 4. Penny Haywood. This girl gets introduced to us as the most popular girl in the school, even before we meet her. So honestly, I was expecting her to be exactly like the stereotype of popular girl, with a show of attitude and completely closed to the possibility of being friends with someone outside of her circle. However, it only took to exchange a couple of words to realize that she is exactly the opposite. Haywood is an intelligent, sweet, and dedicated girl that became popular precisely because of her charisma and kind personality that makes her be open not only to help us, but also to become our friend, and from now on collaborate in multiple occasions, where sometimes she supports us with her knowledge in potions, and other times it's us that support her, like the time her little sister Beatrice got trapped inside a painting. If I remember right, this is the first chance we get to say that we like her when one of our friends, and later Penny herself, asks us why we always show such a great disposition to help her. And honestly, if it wasn't for how much I like the number 1, of course I would have said I like Penny. Number 3. Charlie Weasley. From all the brothers from this family, Charlie wins my heart for having chosen Dragonology as a specialty. Of course, during the game he's not a Dragonologist yet because he's still a student, but still we can already see not only his great passion for these animals, but also his grand connection and capacity to understand and empathize with them. And let's not forget his guts to go near the dangerous kinds. If I lived in J.K. Rowling's magical world, my profession would definitely be Magisologist, and if I specialized on a creature, it would be dragons as well. So it's inevitable for me to have a weakness for Charlie. Not only for the professional compatibility, but also because he chooses this path because he actually loves dragons. And this may not be particularly appealing to some, but for me, the sincere love towards animals or creatures, magical or not, says a lot about a person's human quality. Besides, during the story and some events, particularly the Christmas ones, Charlie has a warm attitude towards us, not only by giving us his help if we ask for it, but also by including us in his plans to spend Christmas with his family, which makes me think that the Dragonologist of the Weasleys is not only a talented guy with clear goals, but also would be a perfect balance between attraction and friendship. Number 2. Barnaby Lee. If anyone has made choices difficult for me when choosing dates, it's definitely him. It's not only that he's so handsome and muscular, but also that the only thing that's more beautiful than his exterior would be his interior. When we meet him for the first time, Barnaby along with Imelda is one of Merula's friends, not to say slaves. And therefore, at first our relationship to him and to the rest of his group is more antagonic. However, when we get to know him a bit more, we find out that Barnaby is nor hostile nor aggressive, and that if it wasn't for the influence of Merula and Imelda, he wouldn't be a bully and he would not hate our character. And actually, there's much more tendency to goodness in Barnaby, to the point of being a little naive. And this exactly is what allows his supposed friends to take advantage of him. When our character finds this out, we have our first personal interaction with Barnaby, where we confront him and make him see that Merula does not treat him as an equal, but as a subordinate. And after this moment, he stops being friends with her and Imelda and joins our group instead. After this, our first interactions with Barnaby make him look like he's a little distracted, even like intelligence wasn't his best quality. However, when we get to know him better, we realize that Lee is actually very dedicated and talented for the things he's interested in, like magical creatures, herbology, and even poetry when it helps him invite us to be his date. Although his muscles and romantic gestures are beautiful, what makes me fall for this character is his pure heart, which is not only noticeable in his sweetness towards us and our friends, but also in his love towards creatures that also feel safe around him. And it's because of all this, and of course the beautiful ways he has to ask us out, or to say that he likes us, that Barnaby Lee is the only one that has made me doubt before choosing my date. Number 1. Merula's Knight. Besides the fact that she's gorgeous and I love her style in makeup, clothes and hair, the main reason why she is in the top of this list is that I love this character even before knowing there would be romantic interactions. And that's why, even though if I restarted the game I could try one of the other routes I included, in my current game I always pick her when it comes to dating opportunities, and this helps us meet very beautiful faces of her. Merula regularly presents herself as a tough, aggressive, and very harsh witch. And actually during first year she behaves pretty mischievous and hostile and kind of abusive to her friends. But as the story advances and we start to know her deeper, we realize that below that shell lies a sensitive girl that hides this side because she cannot stand to feel vulnerable. During the Christmas events, we find out that Merula stays in Hogwarts for holidays because going back home only makes her miss her parents more because they are prisoners in Azkaban. And later, when we spend Christmas with the Weasleys, we can see that she really appreciates the gesture of Molly and Arthur that got her a present. And this shows us that she's not only capable of feeling love, but also of cherishing it and corresponding it. On the other hand, given her competitive nature and aggressive personality, sometimes Merula says and does things that make her look like a witch with tendencies to dark magic, among them being locking us inside a room with a mortal plant or suggesting to teach us the murderous course in order to defeat Rakepick. But if we put things in perspective, we'll realize that the Devil Leash was a prank. Yeah, pretty dangerous one, but not done with the intention to kill, but to prank the person she likes. You know, like Helga Pataki with Arnold. And in next years, although sometimes she still says things to mess with our character, she no longer plays dangerous pranks on us, and even the comments stop being so much harmful and start becoming more a way to get along. And well, when it comes to Rakepick, I definitely don't think her intentions to kill her are neither wrong nor evil. Of course, if we saw her suggesting to do this to anyone else, it would be more than excessive. But in this case, we must not forget that Patricia Rakepick set us a trap and had the intention to kill our character and our friends, including Merula. And her specifically suffered the worst of the treasons by being tortured with the Cruciatus course by no other than the witch that until now she had not only considered a trustworthy teacher, but also a mother figure. In her dialogues, she justifies her intentions, saying it's the perfect way to get even. But if we read between lines, we'll understand that this is not only something she sees as a way to get revenge, but also as doing whatever it takes to preserve her safety and everyone else's. And unfortunately, later in the story, we discover she was right. Oh, and if after all this reflection you still believe she's a mischievous witch, you just need to see her in the missions with Hagrid to realize that there's not only enough good in Merula for the semi-giant to trust her, there's enough for the critters to trust her as well. And if you remember The Prisoner of Azkaban, you'll remember that magical animals have very good instincts to detect mischievous people. Finally, during the dating events, we can see a very tender side of Merula, whether we choose her as our date or not. And a very good example of this would be the first date event, where she tries to talk us out of telling our feelings to our crush by telling us how embarrassing it will be if they do not correspond us. However, later in the event we learn that the reason she said this was not because she wanted to harm us, but because we are her crush and she fears to see us with someone else. And if we pick her again for Valentine's, she does a great effort to give us a special time where she gives us no more and no less than her heart. All this lets us see that although Merula has had a hard life that has gotten her used to be permanently defensive, she can also be a good friend and even romantic and affectionate with her partner when she feels like it and feels confident. Something that I respect a lot about the game is that the characters are in constant evolution, and I love Merula's development in particular because we pass from seeing her as a hostile witch to realize that although she is a little bitter due to very painful experiences like losing her parents, deep down she is a strong girl, but that like any other human being, needs and wants to receive love. And this is also why she is at the top of this list, because she is wonderful, even though she's as vulnerable to darkness as any other human. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that it was useful for you if you're between more than one romantic option, or at least that it didn't make your decision more difficult. Of course, let me know in the comments if you disagree with one of my choices, or if you would remove or add someone to the list. If you liked the video, don't forget to give me a like and subscribe to the channel to keep watching more contents like this one. And that's all for today, Midnighters. Mischief managed!